Whoa! Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to The Vault. I hope that very scary introduction did not scare you all the way. It was not my intention, I promise you. It is I, Sol, your host and keeper of the vault. Oh yes, most certainly. Spidey straight in there with a hydrate, of course. Thank you. Let me get my spiel out. Bottle to the mouth. And I am joined by my guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It is the one, the only, the man that's rocker gone wild. It's Bass!
Alright, let's go do this motherfucking thing!
Yes, that's swears and words. Yes, greetings, hello, welcome in everyone. Thank you so much for all the hosts there. I saw the host train happening, and thank you for the resub, Bass. I appreciate it very much. I see Chungy, I see Spidey, I see Patat, Charlie, Harley, Up Alone, Naomi, Galaxy. Thank you all for being here. How are you all? I hope you're all wonderful. And welcome to the first ever episode of The Vault. And I'd like to thank Bass first and foremost for joining me on such a prestigious night.
As if I could miss it. As if I could miss it.
Yeah.
A chance to run.
Absolutely. Of course, you did miss it last week, but...
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, wrong.
This is slander and libel. The first thing I want to put in the bow is SolTheSeeker.
No, please. we have many. Well, I think we have much more worthy contenders tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vault, and this is the first Soul show of 2022. It's been a rough start of the year, but we are here. We are going full throttle with a brand new show we're bringing to you. We've got all the regular shows coming back in the next several weeks. You can expect the meme review, the Sun-Dried Bunnies podcast, Potato with a Big Sack. You know, you name it, they'll all be coming around with all their usual spiel. And we got the lock-in starting soon, a horror-based podcast with Harley, going to be great, and a paranormal podcast with Meatloaf, called the Para Abnormal. Yeah, there you go. See,
I think power and ab mean the same thing. So if anything, that's a double negative.
Exactly, and we are double negatives, me and Meatloaf. So there you go. Sort of
a normal stream.
Basically, it's going to be. We're going to say it's a spiritual podcast. We're not going to show up, but our spirits will. So there's a lot of stuff to come. Yes, that's right. Double negatives make a positive, absolutely. And if you join us for that, that'd be great. So yes, but right now it is time for our brand new show, The Vault. And let me explain how The Vault works. I have got my guest here, Bass. I keep doing that, but he's over there. Yes. Well, on the screen we're the other way around, so and I'm flipped for him, so it's weird. Yeah, oi! Bloody hell. Right, the vault, it's simple. We're going to unlock the vault tonight, and Bass is going to elect 4 things from society he wishes to seal away for good, for all time. But it's not going to be so easy. He's going to plead his case, and he's going to listen to my questioning. He's going to have to be under my objective scrutiny, and also the scrutiny of you, the viewers at home, and you get to vote on whether what he has nominated gets to go in the vault or not. Of course, the final decision will come down to me based on the arguments made, unless it is a unanimous decision. So we are going to... Do you know what? Can I say, I was surprised because I genuinely thought he was going to say vitamins.
Too obvious, you know, it's just too obvious. If you guys want to have yourself some really nice expensive piss to go down the toilet, you go ahead and do that. That's up to you. All right? I ain't going to stop you. It kind of comes down to an evolutionary issue. You know, if you want to waste your money, natural selection, that do it.
He's already off and running, ladies and gentlemen. We even had the first selection up on the screen. It's not Villains. He's not actually one of the nominees tonight, and I was actually genuinely surprised. I thought that would be on there because I do remember that infamous rant. Hello, Tennis-tastic, welcome in, Chunky. Yes, the quadrant has been postponed tonight. It was just the vault. We're going to highlight Bass solely tonight, but after the show we will stick around. I think I'll throw up some more Inscription because that's a pretty cool game. Yes. So don't worry, but things will back on track. We're starting slow, but we'll get back into the big things. Still a lot to come, and this is actually a big thing as well. So I'm hoping that we could do this once a month and have many other people on. I know Galaxine's just itching. She's there going, I want to put all this crap in there. We'll see. We'll see. So let's get things started, ladies and gentlemen, with our first selection. And Bass, you have nominated sparkling water. Sparkling water, ladies and gentlemen. So, Bass, please explain why you feel sparkling water should be the first thing sealed into the vault.
Listen, look. Water is an important characteristic to anything in biology, all right? I appreciate the necessity of H2O. First of all, I think the needing to consume water in its base form is the most redundant and ludicrous thing anyway. We are an evolved species. We have made water better in so many ways. Not only do we dilute it through a variety of things like fruit juices to make it taste nice, because water sucks, it does, but more importantly, we've also refined it down into the glorious, beautiful ambrosia that is beer. So if you needed to have water that was in some way carbonated, why not have it be something like beer? But more importantly, it doesn't taste better. It makes water, which by itself is bland and tedious, somehow makes it worse. It makes water angry. Why would you want to taste angry water bubbling through your lips? It's like drinking TV static. Have you ever turned on an old analog TV when there's no radio signals coming through and you just give a
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the taste of sparkling water. And at some point, somebody has done that to water, tasted it, and thought, yeah, that's what I need in my life. What I need more in my life is the sensation that TV has run out. That's the situation. So it's not so much I need to argue that sparkling water needs to go into the vault. I don't understand why it exists to begin with.
Very fair point. Okay, so let's unpack that. I love that. It tastes like TV is finished, I think you said. That's brilliant. Please don't forget to unplug your set and drink your sparkling water. Have an angry time in bed.
If you took a bottle of water and put it on top of a TV set, I just left it for a couple of days, it would become sparkling water. That's what you would have. And that would be the end result. And the end result of that is obviously disappointment and regret.
So, right, you've got water, right? Now, I think my first proposition to you would be that water on its own, as you said, is very bland, right? Yeah. It's a very bland thing, okay? It's meant to be, there's nothing in it, really, just what it is. And so, if you wanted, for example, a small child to drink more water, making it sparkly and attractive like a dress, but not that you, well, no, you want to just dress your kid in just sparkly dresses, but regardless, it's more attractive to the eye. Oh dear. So, would you not see the benefit of perhaps the attraction of sparkling water to a young child to get them more on water?
I think with a young child, the emphasis is on making sure they're hydrating healthily. If you give them something like sparkling water, would that not be like a gateway drink onto fizzy drinks like Coca-Cola and Fanta and Sprite? Surely what you're doing then is interesting them in the taste of carbonation, not in the interest of hydration. So surely the minute you start doing that, you start creating a Pavlov's dog kind of association of carbonation equals hydration, as opposed to water equals hydration.
Fair. Okay, so sparkling water, right? You're looking at water, you're thinking, I need to sell water to people, right? How can we jazz things up a little bit, right? Ooh, sparkles, right? So there must be some kind of attraction to sparkling water. People do drink it, right? People do buy this in droves.
Oh, yeah, definitely. People did buy that in droves. People buy lots of things in droves that they necessarily shouldn't buy in droves. Mm-hmm. People also vote for the Tory party and they also like the Nazis. That's not an argument for it.
That's very true. Quite a leap. I've got to be honest, quite a leap there.
It's one hell of a leap. I'm just saying everyone who likes sparkling water clearly is a Nazi.
Pandemic, welcome in. We just got a raid from Pandemic there. Welcome in, Panda. the greatest of the horsemen, no offence, Shani. And welcome, that was your stream, my friend. Welcome to the vault. We're just debating sparkling water. Let's take a look at Panda. I've just realised that my overlays for you and I are actually over the top of everything else. So there we go, anyway. Panda is here, thank you so much. Hope you had a fantastic stream. We're front and centre above everything else. So yes, so sparkling water, right? So it's, okay, so let's take water and let's put some like food colouring or some, or you know, some juice into it or something, you know, dilute it, and then we've got something flavourable. But what if I wanted a fizzy drink? You know, I could get the sparkling water, then put that in. I've got a sparkling fizzy drink. So,
or you could buy a fizzy drink.
He's got a point there, but I don't like the market, you know.
But it's the same with bottled water in general. The idea that bottled water by itself requires any kind of incentive to sell is ridiculous. The bottled water market is incredibly ludicrous, right? Like, you take a bottle for Evian water, it costs them less than a penny to fill that bottle up. It'll cost them 4 pence to make the bottle, right? People are then buying that for £1.20 from a corner shop on their way to work, all right? For 4 or 5 pence, they are spending £1.20. The percentage markup on that is in the thousands of percent. And people have no issue buying that. So the idea that you need to add a little bit of CO2 to it in order to encourage people to buy it also doesn't make any kind of difference. I think there are a very specific type of person that buys sparkling water.
Right.
And I think they're the type of person who are using it almost as a get off of other fizzy drinks, but I'm already hooked on carbonation.
Oh, okay.
Which to a degree makes sense.
So it's kind of the opposite of what I originally pitched with like children, really, trying to get them to
so it's kind of getting people off of that.
Right.
But I think that has the same damage that you have with, say, people quitting cigarettes and then taking up e-cigarettes. Okay, you're kind of you're just removing one addiction with another. You're not really fixing the problem. If you don't want to have fizzy drinks in your life, just don't drink fizzy drinks. Move on to just having water or juices or squash. Ditch the carbonation in total. It's in this horrible middle ground of not healthy, not unhealthy. It's kind of acting like it's something that it isn't, and the taste and pleasure of it is just not there for me at all, and I don't really understand other people's pleasure of it. And any flavour that water does have, because water does have flavour, it has minerals in it. You can taste the different mineral content depending on the water. If you drink spring water from Scotland and you taste the difference from, say, the chalky stuff we have down here in East Sussex, there's a distinct difference in flavour. The water in Scotland is much nicer. It is. It just tastes nicer. It's more refreshing, is how I would describe it. The minute you carbonate that, you can't taste any of that nuances in that water. So even if you do have the small benefits that you do get from water in flavour, the minute you carbonate it, you lose that anyway, because all you can taste is this horrible, you know, like, you know those sweets you used to get where you pop them on your tongue and they would fizz?
Oh, yes.
Like moon dust?
Yeah,
it's like that sensation without flavour.
It was like
yeah, they did as well, yeah.
Popping candy.
But it's like that popping candy. So it's like that sensation for water without flavour.
So,
and it removes any flavour that is there.
I've never actually had sparkling water, ever, actually. So I can't...
Well, you're not missing out.
I can't comment... I can't comment on its taste, but I couldn't really imagine it being any much difference. I don't know. Why is it so coarse as you describe it?
It's the sensation of the carbonation in water, because it's such a loose liquid, because it doesn't have any additional flavours or textures added from juices and squashes, etc. Water by itself has a very nuanced, very light flavour based on just the minerals. The carbonation of it is such it's such a heavy, intense texture on your tongue that any nuance in flavour you would have got from that water is just blown away, and all you can feel is this sensation of carbonation.
Right.
I don't want to put my tongue on the end of a soda stream, and that's all sparkling water tastes like to me. It's just this massive fizz in my mouth. It's like trying to drink an acid. It's just, there's nothing about it that makes any sense to me.
I'm glad you said fizz. What was that? You said the carbonation sensation. That sounds fantastic. as a...
It's the name of my new album.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's a new album, just a monarchy you want to go around. I am the carbonation sensation. I'll make something fizz in your mouth. Okay, so let's have a look at the chat. Mr. Charles Royal, I think this man needs to try good sparkling water. So, is it just a case of perhaps all the sparkling water you've tasted has been shit?
Look, you can't polish a turd. So you could say there's good sparkling water, there's bad sparkling water. If the base flavour of sparkling water is unpleasant, then I'm not going to like it. If someone has a distinct distaste for the base flavour of whiskey, it doesn't matter the quality of whiskey you give them, they're just not going to enjoy it. And it's the very base idea of sparkling water I don't like. So regardless of whether or not I spend 50p on the bottle or £10.50, which is like Highland spring water carbonated through the vagina of a 19-year-old virgin, it's not going to change the fact that I don't like it.
That's very fair and to the point. Well, I think... Still a turd, though. That's fair. Sparkling water. Now, I've heard the debates about bottled water and the manufacturing of bottled water. The fact it's got to lengths to which it's sparkling, we have to jazz it up, as I've said before. It is a bit unsettling, and I've never known anyone to have it or buy it. I've never actually met anyone who just drinks sparkling water or swears by it. I mean, if they do, I would say, what the fuck are you drinking that for? But I think this might be, based on what we see in the chat, quite a quick one. Let's go to the poll. I think already here. Whoever is setting up the poll, Tats Harley. Set a 3-minute timer, and in this timer we're going to let Bass give one final plead as to whether sparkling water belongs in the vault. And while that poll goes up, please feel free to vote if you think it should go in or not. If it's unanimous, we will seal it away. So I think you made a pretty good case, but please, the floor is yours, Bass.
But it doesn't come down to a question of whether or not sparkling water has people who purchase it. Obviously, there are people out there who purchase sparkling water, otherwise there wouldn't be a business model for it. But having people who purchase something doesn't necessarily mean they're making the right choice, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that deserves to continue to exist in society. I think it is an aspect that will continue to have negatives, be it not just in flavour and texture, but also destroying the nuances of any water that you have. If you took shit water and terrible water and then you carbonated it and you forced it through, it's a wonderful way of forcing poor quality water on people without them having necessarily any knowledge of it, because the only thing you're interested in is that carbonation, which is an aspect I'm sure definitely exists in that industry. It's another way of people making an excessive amount of profit from a product they shouldn't necessarily be making profit from. Water is a life necessity, and you shouldn't be able to just add some carbonation to it and make fuck tons of profit at other people's expense. In addition to that, like I said before, there's very few benefits to its flavour. Any flavours that you do have in water, any nuances that you have in mineral content, etc., is instantly lost the minute you decide to pump TV static through the bottle. So if you take those considerations, you take what it's going to do to the industry, what it does to the life necessity that is water and people's ideology on who deserves it, the idea that people can make a profit margin on something that people should just have as a general life necessity anyway, and the fact that they've taken a product that realistically tastes like shit anyway and managed to market it to people in such a way that they can sell it at a ridiculously high markup price, once again adds no logic to it either. So in general, if you want to drink sparkling water, you go ahead and do that, but make sure you're locked away in a basement away from society, because you disgust me.
Bass, do you own any sparkling water?
Do I own any sparkling water?
Yes.
That's just like asking if I've ever attacked a child. I don't. No, I don't. No.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. The poll, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not voting, please get voting now. The poll is there. It is very close right now, and we are approaching the final 40 seconds or so. It's going to be very interesting. Of which way it's going to go. I'm surprised. Oh, it's leaning. But DJ Funky Fresh, so basically talking about his favourite subject, sparkling water. Oh, he's got plenty more to come. Wait and see. This is just the first of 4, and if Bass gets 3 or 4 of his entries and nominees into the vault, he gets a free pick. If he fails, I won't be putting myself in the vault. I will put something myself into the vault at the end of the show. Still Angry Water. I got Angry Water. So that's brilliant. It tastes like TV's finished. Damn, that's so good. Oh, the poll, and yes, I hate Angry Water. Angry Water Sparkling Water is the first thing we will be sealing into the vault. So, ladies and gentlemen, here goes the water. Whee! And the water is gone. Into the vault it goes, and our first selection is in there. Hydrate there. Let me just grab my sparkling water.
You guys made a good choice. Society just got a little bit better. I'm proud of you all.
Oh my word. Thanks, well done. You're off to a good start. The sparkling water there straight in. A good way to get things started. But we are not done yet. He has got another nominee and another selection. Let's see what's coming up next. It is, ladies and gentlemen, geese. Bass, you have nominated the animal known as geese. Why on earth do geese belong in the vault?
Well, first of all, before I say anything, if everyone could just take a look at that picture right now. Just have a look at it. Really nice up and close. It has teeth on its tongue. On its tongue. Okay, teeth on its tongue. Do you know what else has teeth on its tongue? Anything that is from the third circle of fucking hell. Geese are evil in ways I cannot describe. Okay, they are just evil. Okay, they hide themselves as these. We eat fish. We hang around with ducks, aren't we? No. Okay, they hiss. Okay, they are birds that somehow both hiss, fly, eat fish, and can consume your soul. That is not a combination of any animal that should ever exist. Okay, one of the first rules that any British school child will tell you is that swans can break your arms. Okay, swans aren't hiding their evil. Okay, that's fine. You can predict that. Geese are bigger than swans and far more aggressive. Okay, I'm a Scottish man. Okay, I grew up in Scotland. I have Scottish family. Okay, do you know what they use to guard whiskey distilleries in Scotland? They don't use guard dogs. No. Drunken Scotsmen aren't scared of guard dogs. They use ganders. They use the only thing that a drunken, angry Scotsman is weak from is a goose. That must tell you something, okay? They will take on 15 people in a pub at once and not hesitate. They see a goose, they run to the hills, and that's because Scottish people, we have a mystical power. We can sense the evil of geese. Okay, we don't need magical medallions. We don't need amulets. We don't need meditation. We don't need little ritual rites. We look at geese. We see the evil in their beady red little eyes, and we know what they're going to do, and we know exactly how they're going to do it. And the minute you look away and you look back, your child is gone. Okay, gone, disappeared. And they don't chew, they swallow. That's what the teeth on the tongues are for, so the child can't grasp its way back up the neck of the goose. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, geese are evil. Anyone who disagrees that geese are evil are actually secretly geese in disguise. Any person near you right now that says, "Oh, geese are quite kindly," just wait. At night, on a full moon, every 30 days, you'll just hear them honking into the sky.
So, okay. Wow, what a pitch. Okay, so they honk, they hiss. But are you scared of geese?
Terrified of
Right, okay. Should we get that baseline out? Okay.
I have 3 phobias in life. I'm scared of heights, I'm scared of hospitals, and I'm terrified of geese.
Right, okay. So, first thing was that they have, rather disturbingly, got what seems like teeth on their tongue. And I think Galaxine says that cats have it too.
Well, cats have, they have, on the centres of their tongues, they have what are basically scales pointed backwards. And it's for a similar reason, it's to stop things like fish and whatnot, and it's so you can use it as a texture thing. Geese, however, have much larger teeth on the outsides of their tongues, and on the insides of their beaks. Now, Zoologists say this is because they're trying to stop fish getting back up when they're trying to swallow fish whole. It's actually because those are what are called devil's teeth, and they're there to stop the soul getting back up the throat when a soul has been consumed. And your name happens to be Soul, so you should be careful because you're their #1 target. In fact, I heard at a meeting of the anti-geese establishment last week that they're coming for you. In fact, I hear that there's a gander knocking at your door right now.
Oh my word, I've got geese ejaculating over me? What? No! Right. He knows how to sell a pitch by going for the host, doesn't he? Damn. Okay, so really what I have to say fundamentally is, what you're saying is, if we get rid of geese and put them in the vault, we can no longer play Duck, Duck, Goose.
I don't think Duck, Duck, Goose should be played anyway. That was they have latent psychic abilities, and they put that into your head to lull you into a sense of security. Yeah, we discussed this at our regular anti-geese meetings as well. What? Yeah, no, that game should never have been played. It was actually originally Duck, Duck, Swan, but they convinced you otherwise.
See, I thought it was geese because they were the most aggressive ones that would chase you.
Yeah, well, geese will chase you. Yeah, but they did this in like a nice friendly. Oh no, it's fine. Yeah, they'll chase you, but it's okay. It's a little bit of a giggle. No. Take it as the stark warning that it's supposed to be.
At one point during your little spiel there, you said that swans are predictable, but geese are not. But then you said, as a Scotsman, that you know what they're thinking, and you can predict them.
We know, yeah, but that's because we spent years and years and centuries studying the unpredictability. Okay, it's sort of like a vampire hunter knows how vampires hunt, but to every other human, they're unpredictable and you can't tell. We know. But you don't.
So
okay, listen to our knowledge from shared pain and trauma. We've learned the ways of the mysterious geese.
Okay, so if you've learnt the ways of the geese, much in the way that you can predict a swan, you can now predict a goose, why do they still terrify you?
Because we can predict their behaviour, we know exactly what they would intend to do. The minute that we start going, no, I know exactly what you're going to do, I know exactly how you're going to operate, is the minute that they start. So we have to take that moment. We have to know exactly how they operate and use that to hunt them down to extinction. We can't hold up. We can't stop. We have to hunt them. Any time there is a hidden nest of geese, you have to hunt them down.
So by putting them in the vault, you'll know exactly where all the geese are now in the world, and therefore can literally hunt them, or literally...
Oh, no. We lock that vault up tight and you don't go near it.
Oh, you're not even bothered.
Short of a very complicated exorcism, like to send them all back to hell. You can't kill them all, so you lock them away in that vault and you make sure they stay there. And we seal that lock up with 12 different seals, and we call those the seals of the apocalypse. And not until the 4 horsemen themselves ride out of hell do we ever consider those geese getting out of that vault.
Don't forget that I did break the seals, and the 4 horsemen are here now.
Well, they know. They understand. They are the signs of the apocalypse.
Panda says that one of the only birds to catch a felony for aggravated assault was a goose.
Wow, there you go. Look at that. Even law is starting to catch up with the evil that is geese.
Hey, welcome in, back. Mark Van Honksing. That space. Welcome in. So another thing about geese is that I'm trying to.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I know. It's very difficult to sing the praises of such an evil creature. It is.
See, they're not notorious for being evil, are they? I mean, a goat, for example, is often linked to satanic rituals. Chickens being sacrificed in...
but those animals are sacrificed to summon demons. The geese are the things that are summoned.
That's how they came into being, was it?
Yes, they used the chicken and the goat sacrifices, and you turn around, look back, and there's a goose, and you think, oh, this is fine. It's just a friendly little goose, and you turn away, look back, and you're disemboweled. They are being summoned by these ritual sacrifices. They're not normal birds.
So
they didn't evolve.
I'm trying to clear that you are proposing that geese not only disembowel people, but they also eat children.
And souls. Yeah.
And souls. If anyone out there, if that goes against you know,
People think I might be being melodramatic. I appreciate that people think that maybe I'm taking a phobia I have of birds and maybe being melodramatic. Okay, I appreciate that. But to those people, I say, fuck off, you're wrong. Geese are evil.
You said a fear of birds there, the collective birds.
The specific birds. I'm not scared of all birds.
Is there any other birds? Is there any other birds?
No, it's just geese and ganders. It's just geese and ganders because you should
now, there's
be scared
another thing.
of it.
What about the saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
That's a soul. Yeah. A soul is good for the geese and good for the gander.
But it means we get rid of that saying.
Well, I feel like I don't think you have to get rid of the saying. I feel like those sayings have to be passed down through oral tradition to remind future generations of the evil that was once the goose and the gander. Because at some point someone will go, "What are these geese, mummy?" And you go, "Back then, in 2022, I was there that day when we had to lock the geese in the vault. So many died, so much pressure was in, but now the terror is over." So you need those sayings to pass down that oral tradition.
What about the old comedy inappropriate touching of a lady's bottom? Otherwise known as the goose.
Okay, I don't know how you spend your weekends, but I'm starting to think that maybe you should go in the vault because that's just sexual harassment either way you look at it.
It is. But I have to propose that you are getting rid of the old-time tradition of goosing somemeone, even if it is consensual.
So you're saying if we put geese in the vault, we also remove a form of sexual harassment, and you're using that as an argument to stop me putting geese in the vault.
That also
Everyone
means
on Twitch right now, so is like sexually harass women on trains.
But it also means that even if you're with a partner, you won't be able to touch their bottom in the same way, even if it was a non.
You definitely could. You
Not that goose anymore. Is what you're saying.
No, it would just not be called goose.
Fair enough. You changed the name. Right. What about Mother Goose? Big Potato brings up a good point. What about Mother Goose? We love Mother Goose.
Mother Goose is the spawn of evil of other geese. Why would that be?
Mother Goose getting a bashing there.
It's a mother goose. It is a goose that is a mother of geese.
I don't know.
Like the mother of the Antichrist.
I have to say, their eyes are rather beady. They do have rather scary teeth on their tongues, and they have been committed felonies. But so have humans don't have. They have teeth.
Do you have teeth on your tongue?
Only when they fall out.
I think that might be an STI.
Yeah, let me pull it out. So okay, let's go to the vote here because I actually think this one's been a little bit more debated here in the chat. Some people do. Do you not think that the goose is not that far off of a swan in terms of the look? Don't you think there's something majestic about a swan that could also be?
Yeah. With swans are angelic. They're beautiful, gorgeous creatures. Geese are like the corrupted form of them. If swans are the angelic seabird, geese are like the orc to their elf. They have been corrupted into an evil format through the malefications of Melkor the Black.
Swans are meaner than geese, says Up Alone, and there's geese in the Aristocats.
Yeah, well, Disney wasn't exactly a nice man. I'm not using him to defend anything.
I think Harley's going to set up the poll, or Potato, whoever's on the duty tonight.
Swans are not meaner than geese. Swans are honest and obvious.
There it is. So you have a 3-minute pitch, or as long as you wish, to give us one final plea as to why geese should belong in the vault.
No, I don't really feel like I need to emphasise too much more the evils that are clearly emphasised by the very nature of the existence of geese and ganders. Okay, if you can't emphasise or understand that a creature that is born to cause pain and havoc throughout the waterways of the UK, along with all of the other humans that occupy those spaces, let alone the obvious abduction of children in their sleep, stealing of souls, beady-eyed and teeth and tongues that you may have, then I think more than likely you are already corrupted and in fact possessed by those geese. I feel like you should go visit your local goose priest to have a goose exorcism performed, in which you will honk and hiss into the moonlight as the soul of the goose is stripped from your body, and you will then realise and feel great relief at not having to pass geese eggs anymore out of your anus after your horrible year-long possession by that goose. Free up the Scotsman, free the distilleries, let people sleep at night, free the waterways, stand with me, brothers and sisters, against the evils of geese.
Whee! There we go. The evils of geese, and they are not listening to you. All the one person did there. See, that's what it took. It just took your case, and you got one on your side. We'll see. We'll see if the geese do end up in there. You've got about 1 minute 20, I believe.
They are all damned to hell. Every one of you will be going and seeing a goose one day. And the day that happens, when that goose saunters on up to you with its weird little waddle looking like it's constipated, and it arcs its neck up, and it looks at you with its beady eyes and opens its mouth, and the fourth mouth just pushes out like a scene from Aliens towards you, and your soul starts to be stripped through your nostrils, you'll think, I should have listened to bass. I had the chance. They could have been in the vault, but no. I listened to Up Alone and her horrible goose love, and I'm so there. That's what happened.
They're honking you in the chat right now. It's it's definitely in the favour of one and the other, but actually, surprisingly, your case did actually get some votes for you there. So
I thought it might be a hard sell.
I'm actually a bit surprised. I genuinely thought this might actually go in the vote. I guess the goose is on the upper foot, huh, Kramer? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Roasted goose. Yeah, do people eat goose?
Yeah, they used to anyway, not anymore.
Oh, right,
really.
okay. If logic doesn't get you what you want, switch to scare tactics. And unfortunately,
I intend to rule through terror.
The geese are being kept in society and are free to fly once more, if they fly, somewhat, and honk to their merry end in society, as geese do not go in the vault this day.
Let it be known that on this day, the 16th of January 2022,
geese have been saved, although you might want to heed the warning, because for a moment there, I thought, when Bass backed up, I thought a geese entered the room.
Yeah, imagine the organisation I would have had to have had. Just for randomly, just a goose neck just appeared here.
It was the drawback. It was literally the drawback. You kind of looked down to the left and went like that. Just like, one material up alone, let one in. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So the geese are free. Fly away, my beauty. All right, okay, coming up next.
My footy is blood.
Yes. Yes, I am the master of the goose.
I should have known.
Although I should have pointed out the goose steps would have went in, so that might have swung the vote. Regardless.
Yeah, well.
I'm thinking to get a goose at the moment.
Yeah,
I wonder why you.
Fucking right. If you want to keep geese out of society, that's fine. But I ain't performing an exorcism myself. I don't have the time.
Now, our next nominee might be familiar to members of the UK, but not necessarily to anyone outside the UK. So our next nominee is Brian Cox. If you're not aware of Brian Cox, he is a what is he? He's a physicist, former singer of a band, or bass guitarist, I believe.
Well, most importantly, okay, he's a mathematician.
He's a mathematician.
Not a physicist.
He's not. Okay.
However, that's part and parcel of my.
Bass. I'll give you your fact for in just a second. I apologise. He is a television host of many astronomy programs, stargazing, many stuff like that. You may have seen his work. He's quite big on the BBC. I think his stuff has aired on BBC America as well. Just in case you don't know who he is, I've got a little something. It's not long. Just a quick thing to play.
20 years ago, we didn't know for sure that there is a black hole at the centre of our galaxy. But by measuring bursts of radiation and observing in detail the orbits of stars close to the galactic centre, we now know that Sagittarius A star definitely exists, and we've been able to measure its mass. It is around 4 million times the mass of our Sun, which makes it a supermassive black hole, one of the strangest and most powerful objects in the universe. And the whole story began with the death of one massive star, a supermassive black hole, many tens or even hundreds of thousands of times more massive than any star in the universe. And Sagittarius A star is not unique. We now think that virtually every large galaxy has a supermassive black hole at its heart.
Okay, so just a little brief bit. He's a television host. He does a lot of this kind of stuff. So, Bass, why do you not like this man, and why would you like this man sealed in the vault?
Right, and this is a matter close to my heart. Okay, first of all and foremost, he is a mathematician. Okay, he is underqualified to discuss the topics that he discusses. Regardless of the knowledge that he may have on the matter, he gives himself through these documentaries and through the massively ludicrous funding that he gets from the BBC. I mean, fucking ridiculous funding that he gets from the BBC. An air of importance and knowledge that means that the general population of the United Kingdom go to this man and revere this man as some kind of be-all deity on the knowledge of astrophysics and physics in general, regardless of the fact that he does not deserve that reputation. He's never discovered anything, done anything, nor got his PhD in physics in that sense, okay? So he does not deserve that reputation. But more importantly, he gets this massive over funding from the BBC, an establishment that is publicly funded without our choice. Okay, so something we don't even have a choice in paying for through our TV license. And this massive amount of this money goes off to this man who will patronise and look down on the public in such a way that he will use such redundant cliches to emphasize really simple points. So yes, you want to discuss, say, the life cycle of a star. If you're someone who's not a physicist or an astrophysicist like myself, yeah, I understand why you want to use simple terms to do that. Okay, I get that. You don't need to fly you yourself and 2 camera crews and 15 support staff to the Sahara Desert to get there, look off into the distance with wind blowing through your luscious locks to say, stars are hot. Like here, in the desert. What the fuck is that? That scene there, that one scene, that would have cost them like 200 grand in costs, okay? Just for him to go, it's dry in deserts. No fucking shit, Sherlock. Like, and that's the real issue. It's not what he discusses and how he discusses it. It's the patronisation that he would do to the public in order to do that. And then people watch it. They get through these episodes of this, like 12 series of these, 12 episodes of the wonders of the universe, knocking self at home thinking I just got paid 500 grand to look off into the distance and say ice is cold, stars are hot, I'm clever, you're dumb, sit down, go back to your job, thick shit. That's what Brian Cox is to me. And there are so many amazing scientists and so many amazing presenters who don't do that. Take someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He shows some of the most complex things that I struggled with when I was studying. When I studied quantum mechanics, the idea of mass being interchangeable with energy being transferable with mass, okay? He managed to explain that in such a way that it was so obvious, and at no point did he even leave a studio. He did it all with green screens, okay? It would have been a series that would have cost him maybe 60 grand to record, and it would have been emphasised and shown across, hundreds of thousands, millions of TVs, and is still used to educate people going forward. The only intention that he had in doing that show was to educate and to show people what the mysteries of life really are. So if you want to do it, stop your ego, stop the bullshit, stop flying out to 9 different countries every episode, get in behind a green screen, show it properly and actually educate people. Leave your ego at the door, stop worrying about your fucking hair, get out of the Sahara Desert and actually teach someone.
Right. Okay. So, right. Now, you've opened my eyes a little bit. I've got to be honest with you. And welcome in, Andy Rolly Hole. Andy Rolly Hole. Welcome in. Pleasure to have you here. So, okay. Now, I do like him. Okay? He's not a deity, right? He's not a deity. I don't worship him, right? I've got all these DVDs. I don't jack off. I have to say, it is not a bass stream and it is not a soul stream if I don't thrust my hips like that and you don't do this. So, you know, just want to get that out of the way now. That's our staple. That's not going anywhere. and so I don't do any of that stuff. I've watched more than his documentary programming. I have watched some of his studio stuff, like he's done with Dara O'Brien, for example, in which he doesn't do the elaborate stuff. It's interesting because I've seen these documentaries and I do find them fascinating, and I do find them as someone who came to a sort of renaissance period, I called it, where I just wanted to learn about the world very quickly in a very short amount of time. I found these great gateways to at least inspire me to actually go and look at things a little bit deeper. It's not saying that he taught me everything or anything. I don't owe him anything. I then went and found the sources I need. But the production value at the taxpayers' money, basically, or at least the television license money, to fund what you are essentially saying is a vista shot in a desert to describe why a planet millions of light years away is very hot, is absolutely ludicrous. Because if you look at David Attenborough documentaries that are showing wildlife, or you go to any kind of travel log program, what you're seeing is actually what you're trying to understand. Whereas what he's doing is spending, well, maybe not him, but at least the BBC are funding metaphors at ludicrous prices.
Yeah, exactly. They're not even small amounts. And the thing is, he's doing this to show, the argument for it would be to show that a common man, the kind of environments that we would be discussing, but the comparatives aren't even realistic. You can't take the conditions of the Sahara Desert and compare it to the conditions on, say, Venus, because they're not comparable. So the metaphor isn't even accurate. No, it's just a vista shot. It's just a fucking background for a PC.
And I can see that's where the patronisation comes in, because the idea is that they are funding these programs to be somewhat of that gateway to minds that are not able to perhaps comprehend more complex equations or understand things with a baseline knowledge. So they're trying to simplify things, but doing it in a way that is overly dramatic and a bit of a waste of time.
But it's so overly dramatic that it becomes inaccurate and a satire of itself. I'm not the first person to make satire of Brian Cox, and I most certainly won't be the last, because he becomes a satire of himself. He becomes he's trying so hard to dumb it down to the simple person that you imply that a normal person is dumber than they are. And that's really the issue. And when you have a great teacher, the way they do it is by inspiring you with knowledge and with words. Yes. They don't need a vista shot. If you can't use your words and your knowledge to inspire somebody to understand a relatively simple scientific concept, but not a simple layman term concept, then you're not a good teacher. You don't then spend Brian Cox is the scientific, in the science world, is the equivalent of the professor you go to at university who goes, this year we're going to do all of our subjects outside in the field.
Right.
Because that's going to be much more... You're a dick, all right? Put some actual effort into teaching and inspiring, as opposed to just using weird little cliches.
That's the next thing I was going to say, because obviously most people are taught in a classroom with a board and maybe some props to demonstrate stuff, and those people walk away with full understanding and knowledge, more so than any layman would get from watching the TV show.
Yeah. Well, you take like I said, the epitome of the opposite of Brian Cox to me is Neil deGrasse Tyson. He'll do everything in a planetarium green screen. Okay, so there's very little that you need to actually increase, and he'll do similar, if not more complex subjects than Brian Cox might have had. So Brian Cox, the documentaries he's done is done things like the wonders of the solar system, life cycles of stars, etc. Neil deGrasse Tyson has done that. He's an astrophysicist by trade, an actual astrophysicist, might I add. But he's also done things like advanced quantum mechanics that physicists struggle to understand, that people who have no scientific knowledge will come away with an understanding of how that works. And they won't understand the equations, they won't understand the exact mathematics involved, but they will get the concept.
Yeah.
And there's no massive budget, there's no scenery shots, there's no vista shots, there's no looking off into the camera going, isn't it amazing? No, it's just actual conversation and actual inspiration. And the way Neil deGrasse Tyson does that is because he himself is passionate about the subject. And when he talks about it, he understands it enough to get excited about it and demonstrate that and show that. If you have to get excited about a subject by going off on £100,000 holidays in order to do that, you're not passionate about the subject, you're a money sponge. And as far as I'm concerned, Brian Cox isn't passionate about the subjects, because if he was, he would say, keep that money, put that back into science, put that back into something else, actually do something important with it. Let me use as little money as possible and use my words, my knowledge, and a green screen to show you why it's important.
So, Brian Cox, this is interesting, because I didn't know he was not a physicist.
He's a mathematician.
He's a mathematician. He's never been, presented as a mathematician. I think they've even claimed that he is a physicist, have they not?
No. So he teaches. He's PhD is in mathematics, but he teaches physics.
Oh, okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that happens all the time. That happens all.
Oh, does it really? Oh, okay. It's still rather odd, and I did not know that. Did not occur to me.
Yeah.
He did do music as well.
He was a musician.
What was the song? Is it D Ream?
Sorry?
Was it D Ream? Was the
I have no idea.
They did a famous song. Let me see if it's a song that's well known. Things can only get better. That was apparently his song. Apparently.
Well, you should get back into music and leave the physics to the professionals.
So he was an entertainer. Do you think that's why the BBC have put him into that role? Do you think it's...
Yeah, I think he's probably gotten into that role because most people who are in physics, especially high up physics with the actual knowledge, are not particularly charismatic. Okay, the vast majority of them are standing in front of a whiteboard. I'm actually going to concentrate on physics, and probably wouldn't take on the offer of doing these documentaries because they would say, I'm going to concentrate on physics and on my job and actually inspiring the next generation through my lessons, as opposed to through a BBC documentary in which you're going to throw millions of pounds at me. So I think the vast majority of those people probably wouldn't take that on. But I think the other point you need to consider is the BBC don't really approach people and say, we've got this idea, would you like to do it? People approach the BBC with a pitch.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then the BBC approve it. So he would have approached them, not the other way round.
Yeah,
it's just another definition of his position and his hubris, that he would go to the BBC and say, I'm the best person for this.
I used to write scripts and try to get them kind of what's wrong with my microphone? Try to get them sold and pitch them, and I remember going to the old BBC studios for some meetings when I was around 18, 19, and they basically said that if you don't sell yourself, all the other people there were like, if you don't sell yourself, you won't stand a chance here. They'll immediately just throw your shit out. If anything, they're more likely to buy your script off you and forget about you. Yeah. And, you won't have any input on it whatsoever. And I was like, I'm so scared. I was a frightened little kid with just these scripts in hand going, please give me a job, please let me write for you. And it really broke my heart, because the process within all these kind of structures, these big companies, is not what you expect. You feel like you're going to get freedom. In fact, that it's all just money and contracts, and I'm just like, that's not what I wanted. I just want the creative freedom, and they weren't going to give me a platform for that.
Well, yeah, if you want creative freedom, be a producer, not a writer.
Yep, there you go, there you go. Which is why I'm doing that now. Here's the vault, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, this is very interesting. So do you not feel that he has actually benefited educational-wise?
Look, the people, to a degree, there are going to be people who have come out of those viewing experiences with knowledge that they didn't necessarily have. I don't doubt that. My point is, if you had had a different person in that position with that funding, those people would have come out with a much better knowledge, much more inspiration, and without someone on a fucking ego trip. If you're taking the funding that he had got and given that to someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, those documentaries would have been far more in-depth, far more inclusive, far more inspirational, and would have touched far more hearts. That would have actually led to an increase in people going into the sciences, as opposed to with Brian Cox, which is people sitting back on a sofa, leaning back, watching it, go, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I like the graphics." Whereas they're not being inspired by it. If you took that funding and gave it to someone better, I think they would actually be inspired by it. Whereas people who watch Brian Cox, they're not inspired. They just think it's interesting, and that's not the same.
Do you watch, or have you seen the Royal Lectures on BBC4 that you get at Christmas? I absolutely love them. They're set in one studio in a very small. What do they call those sort of those kind of studios? They're like the old doctors' studios where they used to perform.
Yeah,
surgery.
like the old surgeries, aren't they? Like the old symposium, the old auditorium.
Auditoriums, it's sort of like an auditorium sort of thing. And they literally have this small space, and obviously it's for children as well, so they engage with the children to come in and
they're great.
I think they're fantastic, and they teach you a hell of a lot of basic stuff. A little bit of advanced stuff as well, and they do it all within the studio. They don't need the elaborate budget. Sometimes they go to films, but they're usually cutting to either somewhere else in the building or cutting to someone in another location at a kind of
a telescope or
exactly, an observatory. That's what, So it's not wide vistas and take a look at this video that we spent thousands of your pounds making. I think you bring up a good point when it comes to the BBC production. The issue I have is putting him himself into the vault here. Is this a fundamental flaw with the way that television shows are produced, or is this a flaw with the man himself?
No, because there are so many other physicists who do TV shows that don't have this problem. You see, so it is his own ego that creates this. Because you can't say it's producers, you can't say it's TV shows, you can't say it's studios, etc. There are so many other naturalists, scientists, astrophysicists who produce amazing documentaries without once concentrating on themselves or vista shots and looking off into the distance. He is doing that himself, and if he's not doing that himself, he's happy to pose for it. He's happy to go along with the production for that. So he's either doing this deliberately himself, or he's a slut to the program. But either way, he's making a choice, and no one else is making no choice. You can have people who will sit there and say, you're not, I didn't make that choice, the producer did. You always have the choice on whether or not you want to do that. And you can kick up a fuss and say, no, I want to concentrate on this. I want to concentrate on the actual topic. I don't want to fly off to the Sahara to do this. You can make that argument. And I don't think he's ever made that argument, because I think he loves the little ego trip he gets. He used to be an entertainer. He used to be a musician. He's clearly used to the idea of people looking at him. That's clearly the idea that he had. And I have no issue with people who want to do that, but do it in music, do it in entertainment. Right. Don't do it in science. Science is supposed to be broadening the mind of the entirety of our species. It is the be-all and end-all of everything that we have done to evolve since we first biologically evolved. It is the future, it is our children, and it is everything we will become. And that should not be a vista shot with Brian Cox's hair spinning in the wind.
Brilliant. I'm going to say that's your pitch there. Let's get the poll going, Harley. And let's see if you believe that Brian Cox belongs to be sealed in the vault. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and attempt to do an impression. And what we see in the stars tonight is Galaxine shining bright. Now, she isn't that large relatively to the rest of the universe, but it's okay, because we love her all the same, even if at her core is a big black hole. There you go. That's
a relatively accurate description.
She's gonna hate me for that. I once sang the Galaxy song from Monty Python and just replaced the word galaxy with Galaxine. So when I got to a point where it was the galaxy in itself keeps on expanding and expanding. Oh, she has never let me live that down.
Let it on his bones. That's what we like to see.
Dear. Sorry, I had weird issues with Twitch guidelines. Oh, really? That was very odd. Oh, what was it with the word cocks? Oh dear. Oh, what word? Wow. Okay. Whoa. This is a landslide. Away with the cocks.
I'm going to take the highlight from this screen, and I'm going to just take out my ranting about it. I'm going to do a little collage, and I'm going to send it to him. His Manchester email.
Feel free. The video will be going up on YouTube. It's easier to download for people.
I'm going to be sending it to him, and I really want him to respond. I want him to understand my passion hatred.
Absolutely brilliant. Oh dear, Brian Cox. Wow, I didn't. You know what? A lot of people didn't know him. I knew that your pitch would obviously then give a first impression, but I actually think that there is some fundamental issues with the way things are done. I haven't seen any of his recent stuff. I don't know if he's still making this stuff because I haven't watched TV in like 2 years or so.
Yeah, I don't really know. I really think that the only real problem that you kind of come with it is you don't really have a British representation in the scientific documentary world anymore, because Attenborough was obviously getting old, but he never really did science. It was always biology and zoology. And the only real input we ever had massively was people like Brian Cox. The rest of it comes from people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye and all that jazz, and they're from the States, which is nothing wrong with that. They're wonderful presenters and they're wonderful scientists, and they do an excellent job.
Do you know?
But I think you need an actual proper British representative coming forward.
There is a professor of physics, Jim Al-Khalili, who's done a few documentaries on BBC Two and BBC Four.
I'd be interested.
You might know them if you see them. They do a lot of quantum physics stuff on BBC Two.
I'd have to check it out. Yeah.
And BBC Four actually. I'll send you the name, but maybe I could. I can't do the spell catcher from that. But no, it's Secrets of Quantum Physics I pulled up because I remember that documentary very recently. And I've seen him on a few other shows. He doesn't really do the wide vistas. I think all his stuff is shot very much in and around cities. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I think all science shows should be done in a studio on a green screen. I've no issue with people going around or going to appropriate locations where relevant. You know, like if you're doing a documentary on the history of steam, obviously you're going to go to a steam museum, you're going to go to relevant steam locations, you're going to go to a relevant steam track where the first steam train was, utilised. That I have no issue with that. There's context to that. Yeah. The issue with the Vista shots is going to the Sahara Desert and comparing it to the sun. There's just no logic to it. It's a ridiculous amount of money. It's just, what are you doing? Like, that's the comparison, I think. Congratulations, Bakes, with a landslide 12-0 vote. Brian Cox is about to be sealed forevermore in the vault. Let's do it. Whee! There he goes. Forevermore. So you are 2-1. So you need to get one more in to get a free pass into the vault as well. So here is your last selection, ladies and gentlemen. It is Pyramid Conspiracies, I believe. I put this thing up here. That's a representation of it. I thought it was a good combination. No, please tell us what, why, what and why are you putting Pyramid Conspiracies into the vault?
So to be clear on this, by conspiracy, pyramid conspiracies, I don't mean like Illuminati symbols and all that shit. I don't mean that. I mean specifically people who have conspiracies on Egyptology and the foundation and construction of things like the pyramids and relevant structures.
Yeah.
Because the base logic involved in it is such an insult to the knowledge, not only that we have, but also to the people who built them. Okay, they usually start off with the pyramids are these amazing complex structures built within incredibly definitive terms, incredibly definitive measurements. There's no way these people could have done that. So how is it that happened? Which is just no. They're Homo sapiens. They're exactly the same as us. Okay, they have the same intellect as every person. Well, not necessarily every person. Some people like sparkling water, but they have the same intellect as every person that you have known, or the capacity to have the same intellect. Now, they didn't have the same knowledge, that is true. They wouldn't be able to build a fucking steam engine or work out internal combustion, but with enough time they will, because that's where modern world comes from, okay? So the idea that you're assuming that they are less intelligent because they are from an earlier time is ludicrous. They just had less knowledge, okay? Now, if you take the pyramids as they are, yes, they're large, complex structures, but they're not necessarily difficult. Okay, they're just hard work. Okay, and when you compare it to structures that were being built all around the world at the same time, they're not all necessarily that amazing. They're just big. Okay, they're just larger. But more importantly, if you look at the studies that archaeologists and Egyptologists have done, there's no Egyptologist or archaeologist who has any doubt. No actual archaeologists and Egyptologists, no genuine archaeologists and Egyptologists who study it, go look at them as mysteries. We know how they were built. We have exact ideas on how they were built. We have deconstructed them and reconstructed the ideas of how they were built. We have infinite numbers of papers all confirming with each other how they were built. So there's no madness to them. There's no fucking mystery to them. So the only reason people come out with pyramid conspiracies is based on this ludicrous knowledge of, first of all, how could they have done it? Well, the same way they did everything else. You don't question how the Romans built an aqueduct. It's just knowledge. You just build it. But second of all is the idea that you're ignoring all of the evidence we do have. Yeah. and using weird arguments to try to define it more, and those arguments actually make it worse. One of the conspiracies you'll hear is the 3 pyramids in Giza are built perfectly in line with Orion's belt. The stars don't stay in the same place, you dick. How can they be in line with Orion's belt? Stars fucking move. What do you mean? You know, so you just get these really weird arguments to it, saying, well, they must be pointing out Orion's belt because they're perfect. Shut up! What are you talking about? They're tombs. They are tombs built for pharaohs. We understand the religion behind them. We understand the architecture that went into them. We understand the engineering that went into them. We understand where the manpower came from. We found the towns built around them to support the workforce. We found the ledgers to support the food that went into feeding the people that built the pyramids. We know what they ate, how they ate it, how they built it. We know where they came from. We know the origin of every single fucking rock that went into it. And people still go, it's a mystery,
It's a mystery. So that's one of the key points there is you said that the pyramids were built as tombs. Of course, pyramids have been built all around the world by civilizations, mostly to praise Sol. Hello. Because they're ones designed and built in similar forms to get closer to the sun, which the sun was worshipped as a deity in most of these cultures. Obviously sacrificial stuff, you'd want to get closer so that it could burn, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes in line with the eclipse and when that falls. So all these kind of things do come into, because they had methods of telling time through shadows and stuff like that, much like a sundial.
Water clock as well,
Yeah. So the idea that civilizations, because they are ancient, are somehow, obviously, yes, less knowledgeable, but in somehow less intelligent, completely undermines the fact that we are here today and have got where we are. Because without them, their foundations of what they discovered and achieved, we wouldn't have what we have today. So it's very hard to play devil's advocate.
Well, they created the foundation of knowledge that was then expanded upon to the knowledge we now have. Their origin, the original. Do you know what a clepetria is?
No, go. No.
A clepetria is an Egyptian water clock, and they would have a cistern and a very small hole coming out the bottom, and another one.
Oh, I know it. I never knew the name.
And it would drip at a very specific time, and that would bring up a little cork, that would float up, and you could time it. It was basically an egg timer, but you use water instead of sand. Okay, they would use a very complex copetria to time the flooding of the Nile. So they could tell back then, long before we had any knowledge of how the Nile flooded or why, but they could predict that it was on a constant cycle. So they could use a very complex copetria to know when the Nile was likely to be flooded, and use that for better floating of materials into Giza. So, like, they were using the knowledge that they had, even if they didn't know what the origin of that knowledge was. So they didn't know why the Nile flooded. They still thought the pharaoh was connected to the sun god Ra, and he had to do his rituals to make the Nile flood.
Right.
But they knew that it was still regular, regardless of what the pharaoh did. So they still had to do their copetria, so they could predict it. So regardless of the ritualistic knowledge they had, they didn't. That doesn't remove the scientific knowledge they had.
Well, that's a very good point. We have the freedom right now to be bored. Okay? Yes. Right, we have the freedom to sit around and just go, you know what, I've got a couple of hours, I could go on computer, I could play a computer game, I could stream. But you see what I mean? Right, we've got the freedom of time. They didn't have the freedom of time back then. Every second was very crucial, whether it was to any kind of oppressant, or whether it was just trying to get food, or whether it was just trying to work or build or keep things going, because things were constantly being affected by weather, terrain, and generally the culture didn't have time to be bored and to find out why these things were happening. They had to solve the problems that were occurring. As you're saying, like the Nile was going to flood, so they had to find a solution to predict it so they could prepare. They didn't really need to care why. That's why the stories were much easier to digest, to explain why, for mental state, than it is to actually solve the reason. You know?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of points I'll bring on that. First of all, it's a little bit of a misnomer to assume that they didn't have any boredom time. Okay, because they did. Okay, they did. You've got to go back to Neolithic. You've got to go back to Homo neanderthalis, etc. Before, where it's strictly fight for survival at all times.
Well, of course, of course.
When you get up to stable, civilized Homo sapien or Homo sapien neanderthals, depending on the anthropology you follow, when you start getting up to that point, there is periods of entertainment that start to take effect. And the benefit of that is civilization it's called civilization and specialization. And what that basically means is each person in society has a specialized task. So not everyone's a farmer. People are farming on larger scales, which means they can produce food that is then put down into a centralised government and then distributed, which means someone else can specialise as a mason, someone else as a carpenter, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But that means that each person at the end of the day will have an hour or two that they can do, which is also around these times where you start to get games being invented.
That's right.
So in ancient Egypt, you start getting the first versions of drafts and chess and so on and so forth, right? So there is periods of boredom and whatnot, but there is also periods where people can devote to worship, so people can actually go out and learn these stories. So these stories, the Egyptians wrote these stories down, but they didn't start off written. They were oral tradition, and oral tradition
stories passed down, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and oral tradition wasn't told father to son. It was orated. It was big performances. It was originally a man or a woman by a fire, talking to a group of people around that fire at night. But then it becomes these big stage plays, and those big stage plays, those people basically went on to become priests. So that you start to have those traditions. But all of this is known. All of this is tracked. None of this is like weird knowledge that we're guessing. Okay, there is historical and archaeological fact for every single bit. None of this has been invented by an Egyptologist to just come up with. It has been evidenced over and over. Now, a lot of that archaeological history is horrible. If you go back to Tom Carter's time and the discovering of the tomb of Tutankhamun and all that jazz, they were antiquators. Okay, they weren't archaeologists. They were looking for artifacts to sell.
Yeah,
okay, that's basically what they were doing. They weren't really interested in discovering these things. They were interested in making money. But because of that, those artifacts were discovered, and archaeologists and historians later on have then done that research. This knowledge exists, okay? So the idea that people come into these pyramid conspiracies or these Egyptologist conspiracies about aliens and all this jazz is so reductive and so ludicrous that in order to believe that there's a chance of any of this happening, you have to remove all of the knowledge that you could actually have. And what bothers me the most about it is you're ignoring all the knowledge you could have because you want to pursue that conspiracy. That's the only way to do that. And there's two main comments that come up. First of all, The difference between a conspiracy and a theory: a conspiracy is someone who makes a theory and then finds evidence to support it. A theory is where you take all the evidence and then make that theory from it. Okay, that's the proper way of doing things.
That's absolutely right.
But the other phrase is if you open your mind too much, your brain will fall out. And that's really what happens with these conspiracy theories. Is you're trying to be so open-minded that you forget everything you already know.
That's true. But I have to undercut you straight away and say aliens. But aliens, space aliens. They need somewhere to land their pods, and they have to be pointy, and there's 3 prongs that fit into each of the sockets so they can recharge using the Earth's energies through ley lines.
If it was aliens with such hyper-advanced technology, okay, why would they build them out of stone? And why would they not just, remove the local population in there and build their own structures with their super-advanced technology?
Because at the time they weren't as super advanced as you thought they were.
Well, they just had intergalactic and/or interstellar travel. They must be able to build a hut.
No,
they must be able to build a pyramid by themselves.
Interstellar travel, actually, I think you'll find. Yeah.
What did they do? Did they just happen to hop on a horse, fall through a portal, and go, "Shit, we're here now"? What do you mean?
They are blobs. They have no arms and legs. They can't do.
But how did they build their ship? So
no, they went to another planet and got those to do it.
Oh, yeah. How did they get to that planet? So
they blobbed their way there.
You're making yourself into a logical hole, and you know it.
Absolutely. If anything, just to illustrate the absurdity. But okay. So all right, we know how they were built. We do.
Yep.
We know how they were built. Why do you think, fundamentally, the mystery persists?
Because of antiquarians. Okay, so when the antiquarians started exploring Egypt in the 1800s, etc., which are basically treasure hunters, and we first found the Rosetta Stone, and we used the Rosetta Stone to actually translate ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, etc. There is a lot of talk about curses and mysticism, etc., because the Egyptians were a religious race who believed in mysticism. All of their tombs and whatnot had spells. They had their Book of the Dead about how to get through the challenges in the afterlife, etc. The reason they mummified bodies in the first place and built big tombs was to preserve that body so that the spirit could be preserved in the afterlife, along with all the riches and treasures they would need in the afterlife. That was the point, right? So when you find things like that, and you start finding all these scriptures that say, in the afterlife I'm going to need this, and we're going to need this, and here's a magical curse, and if I don't have this, what's going to happen? And then some weird coincidental things happen as a result of that. They were reported in such a way that people then started thinking Egypt was different to every other archaeology. You notice how you don't get the same mysticism when it comes to, say, Iron Age man in the UK, regardless of the fact you have the same mysticism. But the difference with Egypt is because it was such a big thing and it's gold and glittery and amazing and it was worth so much money and people brought it back to the UK and shipped it out and all this jazz, it became this synonymous topic that became a media seller. And because of it being easy to sell in the media, it became popular. The perfect epitome of this is the Curse of Tutankhamun. Okay, it's a classic fucking curse. There was a curse that was written across the blockstone to the tomb of Tutankhamun, and it basically said, "Beware all who enter here," etc., etc. Right? And they went in, and about 2 months later, one of the people on the dig died. Okay, and so the newspapers everywhere went, "Fucking the Curse of Tutankhamun strikes," regardless of the fact the guy was dying from cancer. Okay, but they ignore that. It's just the Curse of Tutankhamun, right? About 4 years later, someone else on the dig team died, and it's the Curse of Tutankhamun strikes again, regardless of the fact he was 80 and he was dying. Okay, and the funniest thing about it was about 30 years later, after the dig, Howard Carter died, and the newspaper was, "The Curse of Tutankhamun finally takes Carter." He was like 95 years old or something. He was dying, but that's what they used to epitomise it. So because of that sensationalism and because of the ability to be able to sell anything when you use Egyptology and whatnot, then it becomes easy. And you can see that in media throughout. How many films do you know are based on Egyptian magic?
That's very true, yeah, quite a lot, yeah. They're quite popular.
Because that's the point. So people don't People hate there being knowledge. For some reason, people hate there not being a mystery. People want there to be a mystery.
Yeah.
And so if you give them the opportunity to have a mystery and mysticism and magic, people don't want to accept it. So it's always better for people to go, yeah, we understand all this, this, and this, but maybe it was something else.
Now, so I actually do empathise with that statement, because when I first came here, I started doing analytical streams where I was looking into like Bioshock and stuff like that. What I was proposing was that the evidence given from the game, this is what it translates to into the real world. This was the intention the developer said, and then I'll get the developer's comments and say, this is how I know he meant that, right? It's not, okay, it is still a theory because I'm gathering the evidence to put it down there, but the idea that the knowledge of the real world somehow isn't accepted. It's like Bendy. Oh, Bendy and the Ink Machine drove me nuts. I'm so scared of Bendy and the Ink Machine. All the evidence pointed towards what this game was, and I said, this is what the game is. We went through it. I said, this is the evidence, and this is the conclusion of this evidence. Not having it. Not, what about this? What about this? You've missed out this part. Here's a rebuttal as to, no, it's just, you're wrong. I don't like it. And I'm like, but you're okay not to like it, but you have to take in the fact that I have garnered knowledge. I've gone to great lengths to research this. I've presented it all to you, and you're just negating it because you don't like the fact that it's been answered.
I think there's an additional point on that, though, which is that is an art form. Okay, so that is open to interpretation.
That's fair. That's actually a very good point. Yeah.
So the entire point of a game or music or art in general is to be interpreted.
Yeah.
The way I interpret a piece of music is going to be different to how you do. I'm going to get different emotions, different feelings. The way I interpret a game will be different to you, presumably, not necessarily, obviously, but as a general rule, we open ourselves up to that difference because that is art. That is the point. It is the ultimate expression of our own creativity, and our interpretation of other art forms is another expression of that creativity. So there's no issue with that. With archaeology, it's not it's archaeological fact.
It is.
It's the same with historical fact, the same with science, etc. There's not a matter of being open to interpretation a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it's just, this is direct evidence for what actually happened. You can have your own interpretations as much as you like, but this is how they built it. And your interpretation doesn't make that wrong.
Do you feel that people in general, and the reason why I brought that up, the reason why they negate the knowledge or the facts is because if they accept it, they have to sort of come to some kind of negative conclusion in their mind.
I think they do it. I think they do it because they think it makes the world less beautiful. I think that's what it is. I think it's just the same with a lot of things. So I think if they accept and if they sit there and go, no, the Egyptians were just people like everyone else on the earth at the time who were building and developing, that then removes this beautiful imagery and fantasy they have in their head about aliens and what could have been happening.
Right.
But they're looking at the world wrong, and I've had this, in my opinion anyway, they're looking at the world wrong, and I've had this conversation about other things as well. Take my love of astrophysics, okay? If I understand, due to my knowledge of that I am an insignificant speck of carbon spinning on a planet around a star in a solar system, in a galaxy, in a universe made of galaxies, I couldn't be less insignificant.
Me too.
I find that beautiful because being that insignificant speck of carbon, I have developed the knowledge to understand that.
Yeah,
my ability to understand that I am that insignificant is what's so fucking beautiful about the universe. So I think people redact that beauty and try to force beauty into a universe that doesn't need it. If you actually look at the Egyptians and how they built it and how they developed and the way they figured things out without the knowledge that we now have, that is far more beautiful than the fantasy you've created around them. But as opposed to embracing the beauty that's already there, you force your own fantasy beauty into it. But I think the reason people don't want to accept that beauty is because they've already created their own fantasy, and that fantasy is beautiful to them, and because of that they're closed off to the beauty that's actually already there.
Let's get the poll going. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think these pyramid conspiracies belong in the vault? Let's get the poll going and let's see what you think. There it is, it's all ready to go. Please go. They are poo and aliens built pyramid. Wait, what? Wait, should? Yeah, yes, yes, right. Okay, that makes sense. I think it does make sense. I didn't think about that for a second. No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Vote away. I think you've actually nailed that one right in the head. Personally, so I'm not going to ask you to pitch it again. I think people. I think you've done a really good job there. Yes, I went with that image because it's a pyramid and often associated with Illuminati, thus conspiracy theories. I hope you don't mind.
That's why you went with it. I do. It's the perfect way of epitomising it in a single image, really, isn't it?
There's many other different things which I'm assuming might actually come up on the vault, so I don't want to dive too much into them. But along the same veins, there's obviously a lot of flat Earth theories.
I'm trying to avoid too many conspiracies in one go. I thought I just concentrate on the one that bothers me the most, which is that one. Flat Earthers, I just think are funny.
Yeah.
So,
I suppose that. Yeah, I suppose that I can see that. There's obviously a lot more alien theories out there, and
well, I don't disagree with the idea of aliens. Obviously, I'm an astrophysicist. The idea of there not being aliens is ludicrous.
It's just the idea of them being
their interpretation of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Statistically, it is likely that life exists out there, which we would consider alien.
Well,
it may not exist in the form that we've created in our minds, but
yeah, but so there's two. So you've got the Fermi paradox, right? So if you take the number of planets and the number of solar systems and the number of galaxies and so on and so forth, there has to be species aliens. So where are they?
Yeah.
But there's another theory that's come out, which is called like super filtering or something, and it just changes the way you look at the development of life, and it's really interesting. I won't go into it on here because that's more for me podcasting as opposed to
fascinating.
But sorry, what's that?
That's definitely something that we can look up and delve into.
It's really cool. It is really cool.
Because you've also got to remember that life itself doesn't immediately come with the idea of intelligence as well.
No.
So,
well, who defines intelligence?
Well, self-awareness, right? Is usually classed as.
Yeah, but we can't define who's self-aware on this planet right now. We're not even sure if we're the only species that are self-aware currently.
I suppose that is fair. Yeah.
We don't have that knowledge right now, so
we can rule out certain species.
We can rule out species, but we can't guarantee which are. All right? So there's a lot of evidence that would specify that dogs and dolphins are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But we can't define that. We aren't sure. So basically,
can't even describe colour, can we? Ain't even got that down.
Well, no, we're kind of in this position where we're convinced that something's self-aware, self-intelligent if they can communicate with us in a way that we communicate, and that's so egocentric.
Oh yes, they are poo, says the Vault. Banks, congratulations. We are going to seal away these pyramid conspiracies in the Vault, much like the Vault is a pyramid itself. But this one is fact. I can assure you, there is no conspiracy. It is not a fix. In it goes. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the Vault, but that means Bakes got 3 out of 4, so we're going to give him the floor to put a final item in to the Vault, free of charge, no vote. He gets to put it in. Base, what do you want to put into the Vault for free?
I want to put into the Vault for free people complaining about homeless people using money for alcohol. It sounds like it's a very specific thing, okay, and it sounds a bit like, well, that was a bit out of the blue. But let me just emphasise this. First of all, okay, any time someone's giving somebody money who is homeless, you don't really know what that money is being spent on. I appreciate that, and the argument, of course, is, well, what happens if I give them this money and all they do is spend it on alcohol? Well, they're homeless. What are they going to do? Save it up for a fucking wall unit? They don't have a home. Okay, so you're looking at this situation and going, well, I'm not going to give them money in case they spend it on alcohol, so actually they get to starve to death. Like that's the argument that's being utilised to defend that, okay? And the other alternative is people go, well, instead I'm just going to give it to a charity that's going to do that. 80% of the money that goes into some of the largest charities don't go on the people it's being spent on. So, if I'm not stating that the best thing to do is to take £10 and give it to a homeless person next time you see them. If you don't want to do that or you're not in the position to do that, that's fine. But don't make the argument that it's because they're going to spend it on alcohol, because that's just the most ludicrous fucking argument. If someone is starving on the street or is freezing to death on the street, they're not going to spend that money on alcohol. They're going to buy themselves something to eat and or a blanket. So you are defining the basic survival instinct of a person on the street, and you are refining it down into this horrible conclusion of they might buy alcohol to justify your own, first of all, prejudice because you don't like them because they're in a position you're not in. But second of all, you're basically defining the fact that you don't want to be charitable and using an excuse. If you don't want to give somebody money, don't give them money. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to give a homeless person money, but don't insult a person you have no idea about just because they happen to be homeless by assuming that they are some alcoholic drug addict. I was homeless at the age of 14. I most certainly wasn't an alcoholic then. Do not define them because they happen to be homeless. That is the worst thing you could do as far as I'm concerned. It is reductive to the situation that humans are. It is an insult to what that person could be. You have no idea about that person. You have no idea what their life has been. Do not insult them by making a comment about them that is so ridiculously ludicrous. You don't want to give them money, don't give them money. But don't imply it's because they're an alcoholic when you know nothing about them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the presumption that the homeless are all drunks goes in the vote. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Bass, for being not only the first guest here on the vault. I hope you've had a wonderful time.
Had a great time.
And you managed to get 4 items into the vault. If you want to see the full vault and all its items, you can check it out in the Discord. It will be fully displayed in there in all its glory after the stream tonight. And yes, and that will be there for all time. That is where you can peer in through the little little window and view what's in the vault as they all go crazy. Because tonight, Brian Cox, presumably a drunk homeless man now, is in the vault spending not money on alcohol, surprisingly. It's sparkling water while thinking about how he can get out of here using some kind of pyramid conspiracy. But Bass, I'm going to let you go now, my friend. Away with the geese into your future. And I hope you'll come back and join us again on the myriad of shows we have here on the channel.
Will do. Thank you very much for having me. Much love, everyone.
Absolutely, no worries. Farewell, Bass. Farewell.